So in this video, I want to show you how to put things in this container that we have, this shapefile. So in Earth Engine, we use variables as containers to store data, and in QGIS, we're using this shapefile to store data. So I'm going to go ahead and grab some navigation tools here. I want to zoom into Middlebury. So right now I'm just using my mouse wheel, but I could use this. And I'm going to switch over to the hybrid terrain and zoom in. There's no gazetteer feature where we could just type in Middlebury, so you're going to have to find it. And then I'm going to go to about 1 to 12,000. So I've gone down to the scale here and I've typed in 12,000 to kind of zoom in once I find downtown Middlebury. And I'm going to start cruising down Otter Creek. So there's the soccer fields and the baseball field and the footbridge across Otter Creek and Fertig, what's now called the Bird Sanctuary. And as we cruise down, there's the Eddy Farm, and South Street is going to eventually hit Morse. There's the old 3 Mile Bridge, and we're going to keep cruising down Otter Creek until we get past the Great Bend of Otter Creek in the south part of town, and then keep going. And there's going to be this little kind of anonymous pond just to the west of Otter Creek, and that's what I want you to focus on, because this is going to be the pond that we kind of use as an example for some of the vector work in this week in the class. So let's kind of let's zoom to 1 to 1,000 to get a real large scale kind of view of this pond. The kind of the muddy water, the green here is algae or duckweed along the shore, and you can see where the water kind of hits the vegetation. And so I'm going to zoom out to 1500. And so that is going to show me the pond in one, in just in the map view here. And I'm going to change this to 100%. So it just fits in my map window. And then I'm going to lock the scale to try to keep me at 1500. And I notice something I don't really like with Q is that I can still zoom in and zoom out, and it just changed the magnifier. Like I wish I could just be stuck and at a fixed scale, but that's what it is. So I'm going to go to 115, so 1 to 1500 locked, making sure the magnifier is 100%, and then I'm going to try to edit this the shapefile. I want to stick a polygon in here. And so to do that, you're going to want to go probably to View, Toolbars, and make sure you have this digitizing toolbar checked on. So I just checked it off. But if you check it on, you should get this thing here. And the only thing that will be ghosted on here, the only icon is going to be the pencil, but that's going to allow you to toggle on or off your editing. So I think you want to make sure that you have your cursor kind of on Hello Shapefile. You kind of have that selected so that it's blue, and then you hit this toggle editing, and then you're going to want to add a polygon feature. So I'm going to click on that, and I should now change from MJ to this little target. And there's a few options. You can do it with a segment, a curve. I'm just going to keep it simple and digitize with a segment. And this is going to be a bit of a personality test, kind of how detail-oriented you are and whether or not you're a perfectionist. But there is no real perfection here, as we're going to see. So I'm just going to start clicking. And what I want to do is click on the shoreline, and to the best of my ability, try to trace the shoreline, always moving a little bit further away. If you don't like a vertex that you clicked, you can also always hit backspace and delete that one and try it again. But you kind of want to cruise through here and do your best. I'm going to kind of speed up to get the idea across, but I am trying to trace this thing at a fair amount of detail, and I'm gonna just binka binka, dinka dinka, almost there. Probably could speed things up, but I'm doing the best I can. Doom, 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 doom. Sorry. and home stretch. All right, it's not going to be perfect. It's going to be close. And when I am almost done, I think I can right click and say, and that's going to kind of finish it. And then there's going to be this window that pops up somewhere, and you can just say, let's give that ID of 1. And if I say okay, it's going to fill it in with some arbitrary color, and that's my pond. All right. So um, if you completely messed up, you can start it over, but it doesn't have to be perfect. But the idea here is that if I right click on this and go to open attribute table, you should see that I now have my first kind of row in the table is started because I've got my ID 1. It's not going to tell me anything about the geometry, but this ID 1 is basically linked to this polygon. And so I can save my edits. If you don't like it, um, you don't have to save your edits and you can toggle off and start again. But I'm going to save my edits and then toggle off, and there's my first shapefile. So, or that's, sorry, my first polygon. So great, that's digitizing something in vector. And one of the things I want to point out here as we go along is just that the kind of the detail is going to be dependent on the scale. But we'll look at that in a second. So I'm going to say, good on that. I'm going to hit save here to save the project. And so there's a few things that you have to save. We saved the edits by by making sure that that was clicked, that disk there, before toggling off. And that basically writes the polygon to the file so that you've stored it. And then we're going to save the project. And that's setting up something we'll talk about here, that the the files that are layers and the project are two different are different entities. The layers live on your drive, and the project points to them. But we'll talk about that more in a second. So save the project, and then I'm gonna do a different video.